Today we're going to talk about what to do before Mavenclad, how to prepare and get the checklist. I'm Jenda Tracy. I'm the founder of Women Thriving with MS, where we help you go from surviving with MS to striving with MS to thriving with MS. And if you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, be sure to do that and check out all the goodness below because there are some freebies for you. So, hey, looking out for your best interests. Now today I want to talk about my experience with Mavenclad and preparing for it, because the fact is that when I started year one, I had no idea anything about Mavenclad, including the steps I needed to take. And so I want to cover this off for you. I took Mavenclad year one back in 2019. I'll be starting Mavenclad 2 in 2022, so the very end of 2022. So there was a big gap there for a number of reasons. So let's talk about year one and what you need to do to prepare for it, because it's really important. And maybe you don't know this yet, and maybe you're feeling a little anxious about it, but it's okay. I'm going to explain it all to you. So I've got my little post-its here. One thing I want to talk about is shingles. Shingles is a derivative of herpes, and it can happen when you take Mavenclad. It can happen because it activates the herpes in your body. What happens is that in order to prevent that, your neurologist should recommend to you to take a shingles shot. Now, when I took my shingles shots in 2018, so the year before I took Mavenclad, I took them 2 months apart, and I took 2 shots, and they were known as Shingrix. It was new at that time. It's not new anymore. So you have to space them out. Now I've gone online and it says 6 months apart. I don't know. I took them 2 months apart. You need to talk to your doctor, your pharmacist about that. And often you have to pay for it. So that's something you need to consider. But honestly, when I went onto the Mavenclad for MS site and I noticed that some women and men were experiencing shingles because of Mavenclad, even though the percentage is supposedly very small, I was like, thank God that I took my shingles shots. What it can do is it can cause burning, and there's all kinds of side effects from it, and it doesn't go away often, and it's painful. So you can Google shingles and look up the details. I don't need to cover that off here. So that's very, very important, and hopefully you have the means to do it. And if not, see how you can find out to get that shot for free, or those shots, because it is super important. I highly recommend it. The other one that I had no idea about is hepatitis B. So you can't go on Mavenclad if you have hepatitis. I was told I would need to have 3 shots of hepatitis B. I'd never had the shots before, this vaccine, and they need to be spaced out quite a bit. So very important to get your hepatitis B shots. These will protect you against certain negative ramifications that can happen. The next one, and this is something, again, I didn't know about, is getting a tuberculosis test. Now, when I had my tuberculosis test, originally they were only available as a skin test. Then I was told that the new technology had come out, this is in Canada, to get a blood test. So I went and got the blood test, but it has to be refrigerated and it has to be sent off the same day. And I guess the person doing it the first time round didn't really know how, which is understandable, new. And so what happened was I had to go back and have that test again. Usually in the blood clinics that I go to, you have to wait quite a while to get that service. So it's a bit of a pain, but worth it, because of course you want to know if you have tuberculosis. All right, the next one, this one you know all about if you live with MS. You're probably having annual MRIs. And that's what I have. Every year have an MRI, and that is to check my baseline. Is there any progression? Are there any new lesions? Have any lesions disappeared? Have any lesions gotten bigger? And that's really the only way technology-wise right now that they can determine progression. So it's not 100%, but certainly what it does is it gives you a baseline before you come in and start taking Mavenclad. And the reason why that's beneficial is that when you then a year later have your next MRI, you can have a comparison to see, are you stable, which is the key, right? Mavenclad is not to cure you. It's there to support you in prevention of progressing with MS. And that's very important to know. And if you want to know more about the medical side of things, you can Google all the experts that have YouTube channels that are doctors about Mavenclad and find out even more details. I'm talking about it from my patient perspective. I am a recipient of Mavenclad. Okay, the next one is ka-ching, blood tests. This is very interesting because you will have a very extensive battery of blood tests, and that will determine whether you can go on Mavenclad or not. One of the things that you need to avoid is being pregnant while you're on Mavenclad. I don't know a lot about that because I haven't been pregnant on Mavenclad. You also want to check for things like HIV to make sure that's not in your system, and malignancy, any type of cancer that might be there. These are the things that they're detecting. Also, your lymphocyte counts. They want to determine where they're at as a starting place because your lymphocytes, the T and B cells, will go down as you're taking this medication. And the purpose of that is that they get killed off, the white blood cells, the B's and T's, so that hopefully when you get those cells back again, they come back without attacking those cables in your brain. That is why. So you've got to go through the blood test. Now, here's what I found out is when you go to a clinic for those blood tests, they may not be familiar with all of them if you don't go to a neurological place. And I found that I was waiting an hour for them to look up the codes and research it and do all the details. I mean, once you get through that the first time, hopefully they have all the codes on file when you go back to that place again. So something to consider there in terms of blood tests. And lastly, financing. Depending on what country you are from, will depend on whether the government is going to finance it, how much the drug company is going to finance it, and whether you have a medical plan that will cover some or all of the costs. These MS drugs are super expensive. This is a factor in being able to take it. So those are the details for you. But one other thing before I go, because at this time that I'm shooting this video, we are still somewhat in the pandemic for COVID. It is recommended, at least from my end, that I take a COVID vaccination 30 days before going on Mavenclad. So that's probably common practice now. I'm not sure, but that's what's happening in Canada. So when I go on Mavenclad year 2, that's what I need to do. I'm Jen DeTracy, the founder of Women Thriving with MS. Be sure to comment below, like, share, and spread the love. See you soon.